Alrighty. Today on the TE podcast, I have Melissa Gaubert.
That's correct.
I did it right.
You did it right.
All right. I'm good at butchering last names, and for some reason, I thought for the longest time, I thought your last name was Gilbert.
Oh, no.
I don't know why. I just saw a G and the Bert at the
I
end.
think that's an actress. Melissa Gilbert's an actress,
Yeah,
right?
probably so, yeah. But so we're going to be talking with Melissa about her 14-year career as a realtor in the area. And also she has served as a paralegal with a specialty in real estate for about 12 years or so. You don't do that now, but your experience carries with that. And then she's also a success coach and a certified life coach. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. All right, so let me turn on my split screen back again. And real quick, the T Podcast Studio is sponsored in part by Mir Group CPAs. You can check out their Facebook page in the caption below. And also our presenting sponsor, our good friends at Chase Group Construction. They take the lead and become your one point of contact for the entire design build process. They have a diverse portfolio of projects that range from medical centers around the area that they've built, and then popular restaurants like Fat Pat's and several others that are in Broussard and Breaux Bridge, and also plenty of restaurants that they've built in Lafayette. And then they also have built multi-unit shopping centers around the area as well. There's a lot of them to name. I don't have them all listed in front of me, but just know that Chase Group is a great local company, a great design build firm. So if you're looking to build a business or renovate a business, they are your go-to guys, and they are our sponsor, and they've been our sponsor for a few years now. And hopefully they don't back away. They stay a sponsor for years into the future as long as everything goes good. So really appreciate Chase Group Construction, and y'all go check them out. All right, so Melissa Gaubert.
Yes.
How's it going?
I'm really good. I'm excited to be here with you, Ben.
All right, so you and we've met, it was probably, I would say 2018, 2019-ish?
Yeah, pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID. Oh, my God, BC, before COVID. And so we met essentially at this thing that was called a mastermind meeting, essentially.
Right.
A local entrepreneur by the name of Nathaniel Moore. I don't know if anybody knows who Nathaniel Moore is, but he created this group, this kind of this meeting of the minds kind of group, where it started out at Shalotsky's Deli on Johnston Street, and then progressed to a couple of different locations. But essentially the meeting was to bring in people who are aspiring to do bigger things in their life, and or maybe they've already done big things, and like maybe they want to mentor people that want to do big things. And so it was kind of just a collection of people that wanted to do better in life. And ultimately I met Melissa there. Right. And you do a lot of big things. In my opinion, you do a lot of big things, not only for yourself, but for other people. And so I admire that about you, and I appreciate what you've done in those meetings, even though those meetings don't happen anymore, which is a little sad, but COVID kind of rocked that a little bit. But it's good to have you here to talk a little bit about you and what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And yeah, I do miss Mastermind, and that's actually another conversation I want to have with you, because I have brought it back for real estate agents, but I miss the collective energy of all the different industries being in the room, and personalities, and just the brainstorming sessions, right? So it may get rebirthed in 2024. We'll have to see.
Hey, 2024, but man.
There's a part of me that thinks like Zoom might be better in this day and age versus in person, even though it's not the same. But people have.
You know what? Here's the thing. I think whenever it left Shalotsky's, I think that's whenever it started to kind of die.
Yeah.
Let me tell you why. We like to eat. In Louisiana, we like to eat. It doesn't matter where, as long as the food is good, we'll go to a meeting. Right. We'll listen to anybody talk if there's food there.
That's true.
Now, Nathaniel did spoil us in the beginning. I don't think you were there at that very first meeting, but Nathaniel bought everybody's meal that very first meeting.
Right.
And everybody was kind of blown away at that moment. We were like, wow, we didn't have to pay for lunch today. This is cool.
Yeah.
Is he going to do that every day? Like every time we had this meeting, which I think it was like, oh my God, I forget the rotation. I don't know. It was every other week or I don't think it was every month. I think the rotation was a lot sooner. Do you remember the rotation?
It was every other week.
Every other week.
Because then we started a women's only, that was the off weeks every other week because the women wanted more of the emotional side of the business.
Yeah.
It was, so then at that point it was once a week. So I think what you've just said is you need a local business to contact you that wants to give us a spot and maybe some salad and pasta.
Yeah,
so we can bring it back. We have speakers. We have people who want to pour into others. What we don't have is a location.
Yeah. So if you're a business and just so happen to be listening and want to host something like that, that'd be cool. We're not asking for free stuff. Let me just say that. But if you want to provide free stuff, that'd be cool.
Right.
But those meetings were really nice because there were things in there that were beneficial for, I think everybody, but especially for certain people that really needed that extra encouragement in their career or their life. Maybe it was personal or maybe it's business. And so part of that whole meeting is there were times where you would speak or you would say something with the speaker that we had, and it just resonated with everybody. And it was really cool to be a part of that. And hopefully we can see that reignited. I don't know if Zoom is the right thing. I think COVID, I think the people that are worried about COVID, that should be a long gone type thing.
Right.
I think if we can find a good space and
rebirth it,
bring
it back.
And make sure the food's good wherever it's at. And let people know the expectations of what it is, and I think it'd be good because I think a lot of people miss it. Because I made some friends there.
That's how we met.
Yeah, that's how we met. And there were several other people that I still have like casual conversations with that we were there for. So, but that is how I met Melissa. I want to go ahead and let Melissa introduce herself and kind of what you do, even though I kind of gave the top high level of who you are, but I kind of want to know how you would introduce yourself. Like, how do you let people know who you are and kind of do it in your own way?
Okay. So I think the thing that I say the most is I help other people or guide other people into achieving their goals, whatever they may be. So in the real estate world, it's buying and selling property. Super simple, right? Not a lot of explanation needed there. I've been doing it for 14 years. I was a paralegal for 12 years. I love it. It is my jam, because you get to do all the negotiations and it's like, okay, I won this for my client or I helped my client achieve this. In the coaching world, by guiding people to reach their goals, whatever that may be. It could be business, it could be family, it could be spiritual, whatever category they want to work on, watching them blossom. And one-on-one coaching I only do with women. Group coaching or mastermind, it's co-ed. But watching someone get that aha moment and make the transformation that they need to start making to get the life that they want, the life that they deserve, that is so beautiful. I think oftentimes, and I can only speak from a woman perspective, but I'm sure it's similar for men, we take on these titles. Maybe we have some past trauma from childhood. Maybe we've been divorced. Maybe we've had a bad breakup. Whatever the story is, we lose our identity and we become that story. And when I get to guide someone back to the root of who they were designed to be and they get to just kind of flourish and grow, that is what my purpose is. I know I was put here. It's discipleship. If we want to bring it to the level of like what Christ calls us all to do, it's discipleship. And watching someone transform is just such a beautiful thing. I could do it all day, every day. I love it.
Do you have any particular examples of a success story, essentially, where somebody was, and obviously we don't have to bring in names, but like was at a point where they were at a low point, and you've watched them through your help get to a higher point? Like, is there any examples?
I do. And I definitely want to be cautious
Yeah.
in what I share. But I was coaching with a beautiful young lady who struggled with depression and had a lot of reasons why, was on prescription medication, was trying. And without, again, giving a lot of her story, she's at a point now where she's not on the medication because she did the internal work. I'm not anti-medication if you need it.
Yeah.
She needed it for that season. But because she also did the work, she's now medication-free, running her business very successful. She's an entrepreneur. Her marriage has blossomed. Her and her children have blossomed. When she would get in that depressed state, she didn't have the tools to get out of it. So she would just wait and wait and wait and wait for it to pass. And so maybe it took a day, maybe it took 3 days. She had no control. So by giving her practical tools, like, okay, you're feeling this, what are some things that you can do? The number one biggest free advice I would give anyone is to journal. People don't realize how important it is to dump all the thoughts out on paper. And so sometimes I even teach people, we're going to have a gratitude journal and we're going to have like a dump journal where you put all the bad in, you put all the whatever, again, depending on your story. And look, if you want to burn that journal at the end of it, once you've healed, that is also a releasing exercise you can do. But so to see her go from sometimes days of couldn't get out of bed to now, like, she's doing fantastic, that I think that's the whole purpose of coaching someone. And then, you know, now I've reached a level in my real estate career where I am coaching other agents. It's a formula. I mean, do the work and the business is going to come, the relationships are going to come, and eventually that will benefit you financially. But it helps you develop and become better and better at your profession. So I've just started that towards the end of last year, where now I'm coaching agents in any office. The brokerage doesn't matter.
Okay.
And that's free. It's a mastermind. It's a mastermind.
Yeah, there you go. So you mentioned one-on-ones with women. Why the focus on women specifically? Like, what is your mindset or passion in that zone? Like, is it something that you were affected by, that is the reason why you focus solely on women with one-on-ones, or is it a comfort issue where you're not comfortable being one-on-one with a male figure? Like, what does that look like? Why the women?
Okay. So this got way personal, way fast.
Look, hey, I think it's probably a question that maybe have come up to someone listening, and obviously it came up to me whenever I heard you say one-on-one with women. I'm like, interesting. Why not one-on-one with men? I can see why that might be kind of a weird thing, because if you're one-on-one with like somebody's husband, that could be, unless like if you're in a public setting, that's odd, unless you're having a business meeting and you want to say that. But like, what is your, I want to go ahead and tell me.
So I'll back all the way up. You know, when you're in your 20s, like, you think your stuff doesn't stink and you have it all together and you're always right. And then you get married and you have children and whatever. So,
and then your kids kind of shove it in your face that you're not right all the time.
So in 2016, I was raised in the church. I was actually very fortunate. My parents didn't raise me in church. I went with a neighbor. And so they helped me develop a relationship with God at a very young age. And then, of course, you know, you turn 20 and you go to college and you stick him in the closet. Unfortunately, you're like, hey, let me go do my thing. But in 2016, I became a born-again Christian. And from that point on, everything changed for me. Like, my mindset, everything truly changed. So that was February of 2016. In November, my husband at the time moved out, and we have since divorced. But in that season of learning to rely completely on God, I also met a friend you actually know, I believe you know, Eric Smith with Sanook Group. So I met Eric. I hired him for marketing. You know, the goal, I've said this story before, I'm not proud of it, but the goal was to become like so successful that I could basically shove it in my ex-husband's face, which sounds so horrible. That is not who I am anymore. But in that moment of anger, you know, I still had all these titles attached to me. I still had all this hurt, and I wanted to hurt back. Hurt people. You hear that all the time,
yeah,
right?
Revenge.
Right.
Yeah.
So I have grown. Thank you, God, and to the counselors. But so he calls me up one day, and he says, hey, you're going to go at this retreat. I really think you should do it. So I'm thinking marketing, right? Like I'm going to go learn how to be even better at owning a business, at being a real estate agent, all the things. Well, it was my first like counseling self-help retreats. And I was angry,
of course,
to say the least, because I felt very tricked. But when I left that weekend retreat and I saw the healing in just those sessions, I realized everyone needed this. They needed access to it. So that is through the Kitchen Table, which is a local counseling group here in Lafayette. I cannot sing them praises any higher, but they have these programs. So I ended up going through all 3 of their Growth Challenge programs. And the more I healed and the more I saw that I could live as I was created to be and love myself and stop wearing the mask and stop, you know, just this persona of what we think people want us to be. And we become authentic and we become vulnerable. The more I stepped into that, the more I wanted other women to have it. Because look, we have in the household typically a male and a female, and we have very different roles. I think what happens to a lot of women is we harden ourselves because we feel like we have to have all this masculine energy, or maybe we've been hurt by a man before and you're in a second marriage, or you're trying to do all this juggling and you disconnect with that vulnerability side, you disconnect with that feminine side, you disconnect with just the purity of how we were supposed to be. I don't know what men feel. I'm not a man. So with the one-on-one coaching, when I'm talking with a woman, we can have these deep conversations. Like, God forbid there was trauma. We can go there because it's a private setting. I don't do the sessions in public because if they want to cry or open up about something, I want to give them the safe space to do that. The reason I don't coach men one-on-one in a private setting, it doesn't mean I'll never have a conversation, is because let's just put it on the table, right? If a person is having marital issues, sometimes they don't look in the marriage to like, how can I fix this and value what we have? Sometimes they look outside of the marriage.
Right.
So our church, really, even if you go to meet with one of our pastors, men meet with men, women meet with women. And if you want to meet with the head pastor, who is a male, there is a female present. That just keeps no blurred lines. And I'm not saying like, I don't want people to hear this and think like, oh, you think blah, blah, blah about men. That's not what I'm saying. But it does happen. So in order for it to not happen, I just don't put myself in that situation. And again, I can't tell you how to be a man, Ben. I don't know the first thing about being a man.
I would have hoped that you, of all people, a woman would not be able to tell me how to be a man. You would typically look for a father figure or someone who you admire and trust to be that person. Right. And so, okay, I get it now. Because your experiences align, and obviously you share the same life experiences and all that good stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
I know what it's like to be a mom. I know what it's like to be a wife. I know what it's like to be divorced. I know what it's like to, have some things from the past that has shifted my perspective on things. Like, I don't know what it's like to have that through the male perspective. So for me, when I realized the beauty of being free to be the woman God designed me to be, and I started thinking about what if I'd had this at 20? Who would I be today?
Right.
Like, in every aspect of my life, if someone could have poured all of this into me at a young age, and look, the Kitchen Table does do, I think you have to be in high school, but they do have a high school program as well. But if I could have gotten all of this real confidence, not society confidence or social media confidence, if I could have gotten to the heart of who I really am. And for me, that's, I'm chosen by God to be a disciple and to guide other women back to him. I know that beyond a shadow of a doubt. And so now it's very weird how life works. But even in my real estate world, I would have never spoken about Christ ever in my younger years as a realtor.
You feel like that would be taboo?
I feel like it's, kind of like politics. Like you don't want to talk about any of these things. So the relationships, I'm still friends and close to some of my very first clients, but it was different. It was very business. And the more that I stepped into who I am, the more they would bring up God first, or they would bring up trauma first, or they would, now that they see the life coaching. And so I kind of use life coaching, success coaching interchangeable. I am a certified life coach. Some people think like, oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to talk the emotion stuff. So if you say success, they're like, oh, well, I do want that.
Yeah.
Well, you can't have success if you don't deal with the life stuff. You just can't. It doesn't work that way. You got to deal with the dirty junk. And so the more that people are seeing that out there in marketing or whatever, it's shifting all of my real estate conversations. Like people are finding me and they're like, wait, what's this life coach? Like, what do you do? Like, maybe I should hire you for that too, or whatever. And the exchange is different. And most of my clients at some point will talk about their relationship with Christ, and they start those conversations. And look, every day I humble myself to him. I know the blessings I have on my life. And I know, look, when I went through my divorce, I literally thought like I was making very little money because I was a stay-at-home mom who did real estate part-time. And I thought like, I'm never going to be able to afford the life she's used to. I'm never going to be able to give to her. And like, how is she going to ever want to be with me talking about my daughter? What God has shown me is when you're faithful and when you do the work and when you show up, the blessings, they come and they're insane. And I don't just mean financial blessings. I mean, like, I now know beyond a shadow of a doubt, if I lived in a one-bedroom apartment or the smallest of whatever, my daughter loves me and she's going to be there with me. And she doesn't need or care about those things. She likes those things. We all like those things. But it's been such a beautiful journey. And so that's what I want women to get. I want them to get the root of like, this is who I'm designed to be, and I'm going to hold on to it. And my life is going to just flourish and blossom in every area. So there's that. Now
I wish I had a tissue.
I have a tissue.
Okay. I didn't expect tears to flow today.
Well, it is because I don't think you can do, for me, I can't do something halfway. Like, I love what I do. I love coaching women. I love working in real estate. I absolutely love watching someone else find success. That fills my bucket. Like, that's what makes me happy when I know we have a conversation and like you go home and you maybe treat your wife differently, or maybe you do a different business transaction, or maybe you get a little more confidence to ask for the business or get the listing or whatever it may be. That is 100%. I'm like, okay,
yeah.
did it. Next. So anyway,
yeah,
there's
no,
that.
I really appreciate that. Like I said, I was not expecting that to go as deep as it did.
Yeah.
But you did preface that it was deep, and it got deep. So to get a little bit lighter, sticking kind of with the male female kind of conversation, I noticed in real estate, especially locally, it feels, looking at what I've seen, I say feel, it visibly, it feels as though the real estate market in the Acadiana area is female dominated.
Yes.
Do you know that for sure, or?
I mean, I have not looked at the exact numbers, but from every party, every gathering, every picture, everything, and even in my own company, there's way more women than men, for sure.
Okay, so I know this is probably anecdotal data. I don't often use that word because sometimes I have to go look it up and make sure I know what it meant. But basically, it's just kind of what we have assumed. I'm assuming that's what that means. Or is that right?
I don't know. What's the question?
You know what? While I'm right here, I'm going to look up anecdotal because I want to make sure I'm using that right. Oh, God. So, yeah, let me see here. Okay, so anecdotal is not necessarily true or reliable, but because based on personal accounts rather than facts. So yeah, it was in line. I think I had the general sense of what anecdotal meant. So anecdotally, it feels as though the Lafayette, the Acadiana market for real estate is female dominated. Every every ad or almost every billboard that I've seen in real estate is a woman. And I see your stuff all the time. Obviously, I'm friends with you, but I do see your stuff a lot. Like, I don't know if there's something to be said with the amount of energy or the passion behind women that pushes them to the front of real estate. I'm trying to figure that out. I'm not a real estate agent by any means. I've thought about becoming a real estate agent, but in the Lafayette area, or Acadiana area, there's over 1,400 real estate agents?
I think we're at like 1,600 right
Good
now.
God.
It's insane. It's a lot of competition.
It is. But you know what? There's probably, what is it, the Pareto scale or whatever they is called, the 80-20 rule, where there's 20% of the real estate agents doing the work of the 80%, that the other 80% is not doing, essentially.
Right. Yeah. Right. Look, some people get their license and maybe they just want to refer business. So like, let's say you pass the test, you get your license, but you don't ever really want to work real estate. You have to be licensed to get paid. So you could get your license. You could refer me every single person that comes, and then I give you a referral fee. So it's almost like passive income.
Okay.
So some people do it for that because you're going to have a different sphere than I have, right? So it allows you to get paid by referring me. If not, I could give you like a gift card, but I can't pay you. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And then you have agents that just want to do a handful of deals a year. They don't need to make a ton of money. Maybe they're a stay-at-home parent or their financial situation is different and they just need to make a little bit of money. I think the sad part is when it's someone who does need to make an income. And again, they don't have the tools or they're not equipped or they don't have the support system within their brokerage to help them get to that next level.
Right.
That's why I started the mastermind. So my first year of real estate, I worked for a very small brokerage. I love the guy to death, but we were clueless. He owned a brokerage. He was like, come work for me. We'll do a 90-10 split. And anyone in real estate will know that's not realistic. Like your broker takes 10%, you get 90% of your commission. I'm like, yeah, that sounds great.
Awesome, right?
So full disclosure, my first year of real estate, I did one transaction. We had no marketing. No one knew we existed. Now, if I would say his name, and I don't want to embarrass, but like no one knew we were a real estate company. We worked out of a shed most of the time, like no lie. Well, there was 2 agents who took me under their wing. We would go to Bach lunch. They would train me. I bought a binder of information for like $20, and every week this other agent would meet with me and teach me how to get listings, how to talk to buyers, like all of it. Completely for free. They never asked for a penny. And I always knew like at some point I want to do that for the next generation of agents or the struggling agents. So I think it was October, November, I worked with, they were Cypress Title at the time. Now they're SoCo Title. So Mitzi Mayu, I asked her if I could start doing a free mastermind in her class in her building once a week. And so we do. And she comes and it is real estate knowledge, but it's also entrepreneur knowledge. It's a lot like the mastermind we would run. Because like I could teach you all day long how to do a transaction. If you don't know how to get the client or how to market or any of that, then so what that you could fill out a piece of paper. You don't have anyone to fill out the piece of paper for. Yeah. So now I get to give back. And that's kind of what I like. I like helping.
So, I just think it's interesting that we have that many real estate agents in this area. I mean, that's a number that gets tossed around a lot. And anytime I'm in a room with real estate agents, or if I'm speaking at I know Keller Williams does like a thing where they invite speakers every once in a while, and they'll do something. And I got invited there once, and there was this one female real estate agent who was there speaking, and apparently she's kicking butt and taking names. And she was talking about, what it takes to be successful, and like you really have to go out there and, do the work, and like all the stuff that we've kind of mentioned already. And, the number of how many agents was brought up and this and that. And a lot of people get hung up with the fact that there is so many agents, and like, oh, then it's too saturated, it's never going to work. When in reality, like we just mentioned, the majority of those real estate agents are not doing much at all, if anything.
Right. And like, I think part of that, maybe it's choice, maybe it's just lack of knowledge. If they do want to grow, the best thing that I could tell them is get a mentor. That doesn't even necessarily mean you have to change brokerages. I'm not promoting that. They can. They might want to compare like the pros and cons of different brokerages, right? That's a smart thing to do.
And to ask a question, because I don't know for sure, I think I know, but you have to be a part of a brokerage as a real estate agent.
Correct.
Okay.
Or be your own broker. Now, you can't do that without 4 years in the career and passing your brokerage test. So it is, you go through school again. Yeah. You do have
so
to
the first
again.
few years of your career, if you stick with it,
someone.
you have to work with someone. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So what's the difference between realtor versus brokerage? Like, what is the significant difference? Like, what is one party doing versus the other?
So, for example, in our office, now we're Real Broker. We're called District South Real Broker, but that's just kind of our marketing name. When it was District South, for example, Carrie Thayard was our actual broker. She was our licensed broker. So she is in charge as a broker. She was still an active real estate agent. She's still doing her own transactions, but she's also in charge of every single transaction that happens in that office. So when you sign a contract with a real estate agent, you're actually signing it with the brokerage with a designated agent. So let's say I'm selling your house. You're going to sign a contract with my brokerage and just say, yes, Melissa's my agent. But the contract, the binding contract, the exchange of money, the exchange of commission is with the brokerage. And then the brokerage agrees to pay me. So as a broker, Carrie would have been in charge of all of our contracts. And if we do it wrong, she's liable as well as the agent. So both the brokerage and the agent has error and omission or liability insurance. And she's also in charge of all marketing. So we have very strict guidelines on how we can market ourselves, what terminology has to be used in signage, in mail outs, even on social media. So as the broker, she has to monitor every single agent or have an admin that does that legwork for her. So being a broker is a lot of work, and she did an excellent job at it. She's no longer a broker. Now that we're Real Broker, our broker is actually out of Baton Rouge. She's a statewide broker. That's how this company is ran. But it's a lot. So I've been an agent for 14 years. I'm just at the point where I'm like, okay, I'm going to go back to school and get my real estate broker license. I don't know that I'll ever be a broker, but it's kind of the next level. So why not just get it? I don't know that I ever want to monitor, 50 agents. But at Real Broker, the beauty is I'm not a broker, but I can have a downline or a team. So I mean, if we just say it is what it is, it's almost like a pyramid. People hate that, or MLM. It's not, because it's real estate. But let's say somebody wants to come on to Real Broker as an agent. They could sign up under me. They get all my mentorship. They get the masterminds. They get all this poured into them to help them become more successful. And I benefit from it because Real Broker pays me. The agent doesn't ever pay me. But Real Broker will say, okay, you brought this person on. They're finding success. Let me give you, it's called revenue share. So they give you a share of what they make off of that agent.
Okay.
So I kind of get to be a pretend broker without the liabilities or legalities of it.
Wow. See, that's fascinating. I've always wondered what the difference was and what the roles were. Mm-hmm. And I still don't know. I still don't have the full grasp of it, but I can kind of tell where the roles are.
So think of it as the broker's the boss.
Yeah.
So anything that happens under her title falls back on her.
Okay.
Really.
So that's kind of good for especially new agents. Mm-hmm. That if let's say the new agent screws up. Now, obviously, there's probably still some issues that would come up with that agent.
Right.
But let's say it's something that the agent, it was super minor, but the let's say the brokerage also missed it. It will obviously fall on the brokerage.
Right.
So this brings up my next question, since we're on real estate at the moment. What are some examples of transactions that have gone horribly wrong? I know you have because the way you laugh, I know you know of a few. Obviously, you don't have to expound on certain details, but I know mineral rights can be an issue. Mm-hmm. I know that warranty stuff can be an issue. Like, tell me, what are some examples of things that you've seen and heard about that have gone wrong?
Yeah, probably the biggest thing is timeline. It is a legally binding contract and everything is dated. So let's say we go under contract and buyer and seller agree to 10 days of inspections. You only get 10 days to inspect that house. You don't get however many you want. You don't get 12. You don't get 14. So when that timeline hits for that example, right, you have to then, as the buyer, say, okay, I've done all my inspections, and seller, this is what I want you to fix, or I'm willing to buy it as is, or I want to renegotiate the purchase price because their air conditioner is about to go out, whatever, right? So there's timelines for your deposit. There's timelines to show that you've done everything you need to get pre-approved for your loan, like submitting all your documents to your lender. There's timeline for inspections. There's timeline for repairing any items as the seller. There's timelines for your final walkthrough. Like, everything is very structured so that it keeps moving in a positive manner and to hopefully get to that closing table. That's probably the biggest thing people mess up on. They think, oh, we're under contract, it's good. Like, so what if it's an extra day? An extra day can make or break a deal. So let's say that you're buying a house.
Yep.
I get you under contract, we do inspections, and then we and we're late asking the seller to make the repairs that need to happen to the house. If we don't meet whatever that inspection timeline is, and that's a negotiable number. I said 10, but like, it's negotiable. If we don't submit the inspection finding report to the seller's agent asking for the repairs or to negotiate the price or whatnot, he can say, I'm not doing anything because you've breached the contract. You didn't have me the proper documentation on the proper time. I will not negotiate with you. Now, we are South Louisiana, and most of us are super, super nice. So there is flexibility in most cases. But in the court of law, this is a legally binding contract, and you have to uphold all terms. I think the other stuff that comes up, like as far as to break a contract or a deal going south, is always some sort of miscommunication, or I don't want to say deception, but even sometimes that. So let's say, as a seller, you have a big hole in your wall and you stuck a picture over it.
Yeah.
And we do the final walkthrough and there's a big hole that's revealed. Or your floor is destroyed, but you cover it with a couch or a rug. And when we move it, it's like, okay, well, you didn't disclose this. Or bigger things. So I just shared a story on social media. Long story short, seller posted all over social media about their house flooding. And the disclosure said it never flooded. Buyer buys the house, bad rain comes, house floods. So they scroll back on social media because through the grapevine they heard, no, I heard that house flooded. And they find all the evidence that the house did flood previously. So that buyer now has two options. Because of the falsification, and it was in that first 1 year time period, they could have either made that seller buy the house back, plus any damages, or they agreed the seller just did the work that needed to be done to stop flooding and to repair the damages to the house. Wow. So sellers have to be honest with everything with the house, even if you think it's minor, even if it's like a sheetrock nail pop, like you have to disclose. But on the agent side of things, it's paying attention to the timeline, dotting every I, crossing every T, because at the end of the day, it's not just a handshake. It is a legally binding document.
God, you're definitely right. I didn't realize the timeline part of it, but I have a couple of thoughts. But let me get my two sponsors in. I am kind of late on getting them mentioned, so I do apologize for that. But we will get it mentioned. Okay, so you probably have heard me mention them before. The Music Academy of Acadiana. They are Acadiana's top choice for music lessons. So if you're looking into getting into music, or if you have a kid or a nephew or a niece that is down to learn music or has an interest in music, or like I said, even if it's you, they teach students of all ages and styles. They have piano lessons, guitar lessons, drum lessons, violin, saxophone. I love the saxophone because I love a good Kenny G. But there's flute. You can even learn audio production. So if your voice isn't up to par, or let's say you're not efficient on an instrument, you're not built for that, you can learn audio production and help the music sound better and produce it. They have experienced instructors. They've even helped send students to college and also be a part of major music competitions like American Idol and The Voice. Really cool. Founded by Tim Benson, who is a UL Lafayette Music School graduate. They're nationally recognized and voted as the top music school since 2016. Their goal is to make music lessons fun, educational, and to help foster the next generation of musicians and creative thinkers. Their website is musicacademyacadiana.com. Check them out on Facebook, Instagram, all those places. I think TikTok too. The founders in a emo cover band called The Criers, so that's kind of cool. And then we have EPS, or Electronic Protection Systems. You probably have seen their signs in front of people's houses before. Basically, they are a 20-year plus company in South Louisiana. They specialize in smart home security systems and whole home water systems. So if you want to get a new security system that's local, these are the guys to use. They have zero down payment, no out-of-pocket expenses. They help you with all that good stuff. They even set it up and make sure it's all working like any good company should do. And then the whole home water systems, basically it's a water conditioning system outside of your home, and it feeds right into your house from the main line. It filters out your water, all the hard water, the sediment. So it helps your washers and dryers that have steam connected to it work better. Your dishwashers work better. They fail less essentially because sediment can build up. Also, your taste and smells better of the water. You don't have to buy bottled water because they have a filtration system. It's all the good stuff. Anyway, I'm a customer. I was a customer before they sponsored, and I like the product so much that I said, hey, you should sponsor. And they don't advertise at all anywhere, but they sponsored us, so that's cool. Really appreciate them. You can check out their website, eps-online.com, or you can go to this link right here. It's link.developinglafayette.com/EPS. It's a referral link, so if you use it, I will make some money. But yeah, check them out, and we really appreciate those sponsors. All right, got those done. I had to make sure I get it done.
It's perfect. So it's crazy because like every sponsor, I'm like, oh, I know them, or I do business with them, or whatever. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
EPS does my house.
Nice.
I'm super happy with them.
Yeah. Oh, I'm pleased with them as well. I used to have one of the national companies, and they charge a little bit more. The equipment doesn't do some certain functions that I like. What I like about EPS is they utilize equipment that's hard drive in your home. So I can look back 2 weeks prior to any video footage that my cameras pick up. So like there are times where people will say, hey, we're like, my neighbors will be talking and like they'll bring up an incident or something that happened. I'm like, let me, like in my mind, let me go look at the cameras and see. And I can see where, like my neighbor's mailbox got hit. And I'm like, what happened? Well, I just scrubbed through the video and I can see what happened.
Right.
I'm like, wow, okay.
Right.
Like the neighbor clearly like backed into the mailbox and didn't see it. So, and then there was one time one of my neighbors, their kid locked themselves in the house, and I guess the mom couldn't get back in the house, and the stove was on in the house.
Oh, goodness.
So the cops, like in the video, the cops came and like they had to bust the window through the door to unlock the door because their kid was in there by himself with the stove on.
Right.
Yeah, and so I got to watch all the craziness happen, and then I drove up on the tail end of it coming home, and I saw the cops there, and they had just left. I'm like, what happened? So I go back, look at my cameras, boom. And with those big national companies, a lot of times your cameras only pick up 30 seconds worth of motion detection, and if they don't detect motion after that, you don't have running footage. So like what's nice is I was able to see like the full 10 minutes of this incident happening versus 30 seconds clips of it. As long as there's motion in front of it, that's 30 seconds you get. Well, this is just like constant feed. So it's nice. But anyway, enough about them. So you mentioned timeline. I noticed because we bought, we sold a house that we had bought in 2015 and then bought almost at the same time. It's crazy. So a lot of people, especially me, I'm speaking more about myself, but I think probably this is a common thing that people think about, is when you're a family that has a single home and you want to move out of that home into another home, you have to do this delicate little dance of selling the house that you have while also buying a house, but you don't want to pay 2 mortgages.
Right.
I know sometimes it's kind of hard to do that, or you have to move it into an apartment. So what happened with us is it was in the middle of 2021. The market was wild. Mm-hmm. And in 2016, we flooded where we are in Karen Crow area. And this is a particular part of Karen Crow that floods a lot. And we knew going into this house that this house could be prone to flooding because it had flooded and been repaired prior. We were told that it was fixed and all that good stuff in the documentation. So we weren't lied to. So that's
right.
good. But we took on the risk thinking, oh, well, what are the chances of it happening again? That was in 2015. Mm-hmm. Literally almost a year later, we flooded in 2016.
Yeah.
Because we bought the house in August 2015.
Oh, wow.
And it flooded in August 2016.
Yeah.
So crazy scenario. We were told that it's probably best to get flood insurance, but I was like, but flood insurance is kind of expensive. And at the time, for us in that zone, it was not expensive. Right. It was the lowest possible risk that we could have as a flood zone. Mm-hmm. And I think at the time, our yearly bill for flood insurance was like $370.
Oh, wow.
I know. It was really good. But in 2015, really that was 2015 prices. Right. Okay. But so in 2016, we got the flood insurance activated. I kind of jumped around a little bit, but our flood insurance got sure.
I have a tickle.
It's all right. You have water, right?
I'm going to see if I have a cough drop too. I do. Okay, keep sharing.
Oh, yeah. So in May of 2016, we had a hard rain and we came close to flooding. Go ahead, get it out.
Goodness. The allergies of Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So May 2016, we had a hard flood. We almost flooded. We were like a centimeter away from flooding in our house.
Wow.
I was on my hands and knees with a large comforter praying to God that the water doesn't come in because we didn't have flood insurance at the time.
Right.
And we were at that point in time where, insurance, everybody believes insurance is a scam until you need it. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want insurance because I was like, what if we never use it?
Right.
Well, that moment scared me so much. I said, God, if you want to talk about godly events, I said, I think this is probably God letting us know that, hey, you can flood. Mm-hmm. You're not flooding today, but you were about to, but
I saved you.
Yeah. And literally that week later, I called my insurance agent. I say, hey, do y'all offer flood insurance? They go, oh, yeah, it's through FEMA, all this good stuff. So we got it. It takes 30 days to activate. Mm-hmm. It activated like maybe 2 weeks before August 2016.
Wow.
And then the flood hits in August. And at that point, I was a little bit more at ease with the idea of water coming in because I was like, I have flood insurance. Is it going to be a pain in the butt? Probably. I've never been through a flood where I had to cut walls out. I've heard about it. I've seen people do it, but whatever. And sure enough, water came in a little bit. I know I'm making this a long story, and I don't mean to go that far. But what I'm getting at is through that event and realizing that we gave ourselves 5 years after 2016 to live in the house and then to sell it. Mm-hmm. We said, we'll give ourselves 5 years. We thought, okay, here's the goal. Hopefully, the house never floods again.
Right.
That'd be the best thing. Mm-hmm. Okay. Also, it's probably not the best time to sell after a flood.
Right.
You're not going to get top dollar for your house. Okay. It's not smart. So I said, look, we need to give this probably, I would say 5 years. Mm-hmm. And then after 5 years, let's reevaluate, see where the market's at, see how much we can get for our house and all that. Well, in the middle of that 5 years, we had a real estate friend reach out to us and say, hey, this is how much your house could be right now. And it was like pretty much what we paid for the house. I'm like, we're not going to get anything for the house. Mm-hmm. But she was doing her work, reaching out to potential clients to sell a house, doing her work. We were definitely not ready to sell at that point. And then I said, you know what? I'm just going to hold on to the house for a few more years. I think that might have been 2018. Mm-hmm. And so 2021 comes, and a friend of mine reaches out. He's a real estate agent. I guess I'll go ahead and mention his name. His name's Tyler Gaubert, and he said, "Hey, do you want a market analysis on your house?" That's just how he positioned it. I'm like,
Right.
"A market analysis? Sure." He's like, basically, just I'll come sit with you and let you know like how much your house could be worth right now. I'm like, I'm game to hear that. Like, I'm curious.
Right.
So he comes over. And if anybody's ever met Tyler, he's always like, he's like a fitness guy. So he had this big old water cooler, and he sat down and he showed me some comps, and he goes, he's like, I don't know if you've been keeping up with the real estate market, but things are moving a lot right now. And I said, I mean, I'm on, I think I was on TikTok since 2020. And I've been hearing a lot about on TikTok of how crazy the market is and how fast houses are selling. He goes, well, we think that we could do that with your house. He said, he kind of pushed a piece of paper towards me. He said, this is how much we feel confident that you could get for your house.
Right.
And I was like, oh my God, that's a lot more. That's a lot more than I was told in 2018.
Yeah.
Whenever my neighborhood was considered a declining neighborhood. I didn't like hearing that.
Right.
I'm like, okay, it's because of the flood. So, he showed us the numbers, and we were like, oh my God, let's go ahead and let's get this ball rolling. And then going full circle back to the timelines, my worry was, okay, if we were going to sell this house, how fast are we going to sell this house? And how fast are we going to be able to buy a house? If the houses are moving so fast, if we see a house that we like, we're not confident that we're going to be able to make an offer on it because it's going to be scooped up already.
Right.
And so I'm going to let you kind of put your input on this in a minute. But essentially, we could not find a house that was already built that we liked because they moved too fast. So we wanted to have the ideal situation, but we also wanted to make sure we liked and we loved the house that we were going to be buying. We don't want to just buy it and be like, oh, that's not what we really wanted. Well, Tyler said, hey, there's this house, this neighborhood not far away from you already that has a new house being built. And it's not technically on the market yet, but this is something you might want to look at. And the slab was about to be poured. And I said, cool. It was a little bit more than what we were hoping to land in as far as price range. But I'm like, things are moving so much right now. And who knows what house prices are going to be later. Because we know where ours is at the moment that we're about to move out of. Right. So we made the move. We did have to live in an apartment for 6 months because this house was being constructed. So we had to make that move. But as far as timelines, a good real estate agent, like Tyler is a good real estate agent. He said, hey, here's some documents. You need to sign them. And of course, everything's digital. And he stayed on top of us. He's like, hey, you'll make sure, don't forget about these documents. Yeah. Like I had to click and sign, like literally signing is easy. Just click and like submit. Done. But yeah, so going back to kind of timeline and good real estate agents and knowing what you got to do to make a sale successful, like that was probably the most breeziest transaction I've ever had to deal with. Of course, because I've never had to sell a house, but we also sold and bought at the same time. Like literally weeks apart, we were selling and buying, and it was just wild. So, but yeah, I know it's a kind of a hodgepodge story, but
no, and look, believe it or not, that happens all the time. Most people can't or don't want to afford two mortgage payments, right? So often when someone has to sell and buy, we do it basically contingent upon one another. So let's say I list your house. I'm going to do it contingent upon you finding a house of your choosing. So even when a buyer shows up, they know until you have another house that you're under contract and willing to move into, they're kind of on pause, but at least the documentation reserves it for them. So when the market's crazy, people don't really take contingencies, as they're not prone to take contingencies unless there's like a really great incentive to take it. But in a normal market, it would be contingent upon you finding something. We put you under contract on the house that you want to buy, and that is also contingent upon you selling. So if, God forbid, your buyer back out for some reason or lose their job and now they can't buy your home, you're not now forced to buy the new house. So it's 2 contingencies. The most I've ever done is like 3 at a time. So like buying and selling, buying and selling, buying and selling. So all of these people had to be moving at the same pace in order to make it happen. And it closed, but that's really when it's important to make sure you have an experienced agent who has done that type of business. Because one timeline mess up, you now either beg for mercy or you've killed the entire transaction if they don't work with you.
Yeah. So wild.
It is. It can be. But it's super fun when you win.
Yeah, right. Of course.
And your client gets what they want. And, it's just the best thing a realtor can do is obviously stick everything in your phone, put those timelines in your phone. It is a business. I think like sometimes people think, oh, I work for myself. I'm just a realtor or I'm just an agent or whatever. Like you run a business and people are counting and depending on you that you know what the heck you're doing. This is a lot of money. In most people's cases, it's the biggest investment that they have, right? You hear that often. So it's stick it in your phone and also have systems. Like you can't just take these contracts like willy-nilly and like, I kind of work them. What systems do you have in place? Like, where are you? You should be able to, at a glance, whether it's on your computer or your phone, or old school, if you have it on like a poster board, whatever, at a glance, you should be able to say, okay, well, this contract is at this phase of the process, and these are the things that still need to happen, and these are the dates that they need to happen. I have it in my phone, in my computer, and on like a bulletin board in my office. So
so you don't miss it.
No, and I like to check off the list. I like to physically check off the list. So I check off the list, I put it in my phone, but I mean, and especially when you're busy, if you are working with, more than 1 or 2 clients, like you have to stay very organized.
Right.
So that you help them achieve what they want, buying or selling.
Yeah. It's the whole real estate market is wild to me because like I said, I thought about maybe going into real estate and I was like, well, I've seen some crazy stuff happen and the amount of balancing you have to do. And what a lot of people don't talk about is a lot of real estate people going into real estate think, oh, I mean, I'm going to start making money. Like I'm going to sell my house like super quick and I'm just start making the dough. And what I've learned and have been told is that there are a lot of new real estate agents go 2, 3, 4 months without making a sale.
That is very common. People say 3 months. When someone comes to me and asks me, I tell them if they don't have 6 months of their bills in a savings account, do not come into this world as your primary job.
Right.
Because let's even say that you get lucky and month 1 you get something under contract. You don't get paid till it closes. So if it takes 30 to 45 days to close, you're not getting paid until into that month 3. So do you have money to cover your bills? And every transaction is that way. So you're constantly having to prospect in order to grow, to be able to help the next family in order to grow your business. Because like, let's say you get 5 deals and, I'm too busy and you don't prospect. Well, then you're going to have a month or 2 of nothing because you don't have anything in your pipeline. So you have to constantly work.
God, and is it a 24-hour thing? Like, do you have your phone?
So look, in the beginning, the beginning, work trumped everything. I wasn't a mom, but then once I became a mom, I was fortunate. When my husband and I were married, I did work part-time, and I was able to spend the first 5 years of her life with her at home. So I will always appreciate that season. When we divorced, I was like, I got to get a real job. I got to work, right? But it was the best thing that ever happened to me. And year after year after year from that point on, I've watched the business grow and grow and grow and grow. And the more that I go in with the intention of my goal is to serve, my goal is to help and guide, the business comes. So you do have to work it. In the beginning, I was very much, there weren't many boundaries. I would answer the phone at 9:00 at night if that's what I did. Now there's a little more boundaries in place, but I'm never going to leave a client feeling like I've abandoned them. If it's important to them and it's 9:00 at night, I can't say that I never answer the phone. But if it can wait and I know it can wait, then I do ask that they respect, I'm going to bed.
Yeah.
Can we talk about this tomorrow? And they get it.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing for an agent is to, from the get-go, set the expectation with their client. How do they like to communicate? Phone call, text, email. And then what are some parameters? Again, my clients pretty much know if they text, I will usually text back. Does it overly matter the hour? If they want a phone call, it kind of depends. If they really need, I will talk to them. But if we're in the middle of dinner or whatnot, then I do ask that can we hit pause and revisit this? And it's never an issue because, again, I think the biggest thing is you make sure they feel heard, they're seen, and they know that you're on top of it. So if you really are proactive, you're answering them before they even have the question.
There you go.
So if when you work with me, you're going to get like important dates, right? And it's on a little PDF so you can screenshot it and save it in your phone as a favorite. And instead of texting me like, oh, well, when's the date? Like it's literally all right here. Just please save this in your phone so that you have that information. And I should be like, okay, remember in 3 days you have to do this. In 2 days you have to do this. And I break it down step by step. Because if I give you all 20 pieces at once, you don't do this for a living. You're going to be overwhelmed. So I give you 1 or 2 pieces at a time. Okay, now you have to do this and this. And then when it's done, all right, now we need to do this and this. And then, so it just makes the process much, much smoother for the client.
Yeah.
And, that's what good and experienced agents do. Even younger agents that don't have the experience, set up the systems so that the busier you get, the more success that you find, your systems are already in place and you're not 10 years into the business and you're like, oh my God, this is a hot mess. And you might have success, but you're not running it smoothly. So you're spending all this extra energy trying to,
Yeah, it's always good to have
up.
processes and steps in place. Mm-hmm. I mean, any good functioning business with good logistics should have that.
Yeah.
It's a good note. What do you think, what is your thoughts on real estate agents, the big time real estate agents like in New York and all that sell these skyscraper condos that are $54 million, that have slick haircuts, nice fancy suits, or have their own TV shows? Like, what is your perspective and your thoughts on that part of the industry? Is that something? Is that a goal for people, or is that I
can't speak for people in general, but of course everyone wants to do the multi-million-dollar listings. Like, the more expensive the house, the better the commission check is, and it's almost like, I don't know, it's just a thrill, right? Like, oh God, I accomplished X, whatever that is. I think it's TV. It's tweaked and adjusted, and maybe it's not even as dramatic as what we see, but it's been edited so much that we only see like the drama to keep us addicted to watch
Correct,
it.
Right.
I'll be honest, there is one that I love to watch. The clothes, the house, all of it. It's like, okay, this is just incredible. Now, do I think that they're actually really working? I do, but I don't think they show the work. Yeah. They show the parties and the beautiful clothes and the drama. But if they are really real estate agents, and if it really is a brokerage and it's not just all like make believe, then they have to be doing the work. And in order to produce at that level, you have to be knowledgeable in your industry. I guess it would be lovely if they showed these women's brains versus just their beautiful bodies. But clearly, if this is real, then they are some sort of expert in that area.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been privileged enough to have some luxury clients here in Lafayette, and I feel very honored that they choose to work with me, because there are 1,600 of us to pick from, and there's a lot of top producers, so they have choices. So when they do select me and work with me, it is my job to make sure that they receive excellent service the entire time, so they're happy, but then also so they tell their friends and family about me. And that is primarily how I grow my business. If you look at my numbers, it's referrals. I do buy leads through Zillow. Some people are anti that. I mean, that's where buyers are, so I do market with them. But most of my business is referral-based business. I do a good job for you. You tell your friends about me. And it rinse and repeat, right?
Yeah.
You eat at a good restaurant, you tell your friends, they go eat at the restaurant. It's the exact same thing. We are very, I think, and I don't know if this is everywhere, but in Lafayette at least, we're very networked, and we like to promote people who do good service, provide a good product, have a good food, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So I get to benefit from that, but it's fun. Would I ever want to be like on one of those shows? No. I like a quiet life.
Yeah. I can pick up on that. So on TikTok, there was a video, and this is a building in New York. It's one of the tallest buildings, I think, in New York at the moment. Mm-hmm. And it's also one of the thinnest buildings.
Okay.
It is so thin that your entire condo is the floor. Like it's big, but it's also not. Narrow. Like it's very narrow. And this one unit was going for $54 million. And it was one condo. I'm like, oh my God. But it had the best view of Central Park. And there's not going to be, your views are not going to get blocked.
Right.
Let's just say right now, if somebody builds a building equivalent to that, would be wild, first of all, and it'd be rude, like, to block the view.
And those probably wouldn't get permitted. Like, they probably wouldn't be allowed.
I don't think,
right?
and I think the position of it's on Billionaires Row.
Okay.
Off of, right there on the edge of Central Park. So, like, it's one of the main buildings on the edge of Central Park. So you shouldn't theoretically have anybody build right there in front of you. But I was watching this video, and I can tell that this was a real estate agent showing this unit and touring it. And in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, the amount of pressure that this guy must be going through to sell this unit and like to follow through with the sale, like the idea that the commission check that you're about to get, like $54 million. I don't know what a commission check would look like for that. But I'm pretty sure it'd be pretty nice.
Right. Well, so think about this too, though, Ben. Like, that's a wonderful
pie in the sky
position to be in, right? But if you can only afford the $150,000 house, to you, that's your mansion. That's your home.
Yep.
And so you have to be very careful when you're, a real estate agent to make sure that you are treating all of your clients the same. To someone that maybe is buying their first starter home that doesn't have a lot of funds, that is like maybe no one in their family has ever purchased a home before. Like maybe they're the first. So to treat them with the same respect that you're going to give the $54 million client, it's imperative. Now, the services may look different. Like I'm probably not going to do drone footage of a starter home, but I definitely do drone footage of the luxury home.
Right.
So they may get a different product, but they should get the same treatment and respect.
I like that. I'm glad you brought that up because that's one thing that, I guess you would hope that would be in place.
You would hope.
Yeah, with the price versus a starter home versus a $54 million condo, you would think that the respect level and the appreciation for both sales would be equal, but obviously you can't speak for everybody.
Right. I mean, this weekend I was looking at a house, right at $100,000, and it's going to be a great house for someone. It really is. It's going to be a great house for someone. It needs love. It needs work poured into it, but the location is safe. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home, nice kitchen. Like it's old, and I like old houses, so it has like the old charm of like the built-in bookcases and like almost like a cabin feel, if you will. It's very, you can see it was added on. So, it's like a Mama or Papa's house. Like it's a Gigi and Pop house or whatever. But it's going to be a nice home for someone. And at the same time, I've been privileged enough to sell, in the $2 million range.
Nice.
So, but to that $100,000 buyer, that house is still just as valuable and as important. It's just a different tax bracket.
Yeah.
It really is. Now, I will gladly take a $54 million listing. Please.
Definitely don't drop the ball on that one.
Anyone listening?
Oh, gosh. I don't even think we have $54 million listings anywhere in Lafayette.
We just got a house pulled off the market. Let me see if I could find it.
Oh, yeah,
and
we're
it was
getting
supposed to be like the most expensive house in Lafayette, which is not true. It
Okay.
may be the most expensive ever put in the MLS. Oh, look, I got to turn off my, I put do not disturb while we were talking. So it's definitely not the most expensive house in Lafayette. I know that that is not accurate, but it was on the market and it just came off. And I'm going to see if I could pull it for you real quick. I
So
think
it
it was like
sold?
right at $5 million.
No?
It didn't sell. It is on Shannon Drive. So let me see if I could find this, if it's back on.
We're getting the juice here.
3.795. So people are marketing this house saying like it's the most expensive house in Lafayette. I know that that's not, I know for a fact that's not accurate. It may be the most expensive house in the MLS currently today, and it is a beautiful house, and it is back on the market actually, but
Okay.
3.795.
Wow.
And it's 155 Shannon Road. So
What's the square footage on it?
the square footage on that is 9,457 square feet, 4 bedrooms, 4 full baths, 2 half baths.
Wait, it's only 4 bedroom? 9,000 square foot.
9,457 to be exact.
And only 4 bedrooms.
4 bedrooms,
It has to have a huge living room and a huge kitchen, I bet.
right. It's
Like
gotta
your
have
living
some
space is-
entertaining space.
Yeah, it has to be huge.
In addition to that square footage, it has a pool house of
Of
637 square feet and a guest house of 390 square feet.
oh
So,
my gosh.
So shameful plug, I will gladly bring a buyer. I will gladly show this house.
Oh. Hey, so if you sell this house from this podcast, I get a gift card, right?
You get a gift card, and you get a car, and you get a car, like Oprah Winfrey. You get a gift card for sure.
Now, shoot! If I start doing this more often, I'm gonna get a
You need your license,
I
and
need
then
my
you
license,
refer,
get the
and then you get a
referral stuff.
percentage.
Well, goodness!
And
oh,
I will
man.
work that contract with you.
Yeah, doggy. Okay. Well, now we're dreaming. Well, cool, Melissa. It was great to have you on. It's almost 1:00. I do have other work to do today, and I'm pretty sure you have some stuff that you got to keep track of today.
Yes.
I know New Year's is coming, so I hope you have a great New Year's celebration. And obviously, I'll see you before 2024 is over, but I hope you have a successful 2024 year.
Thank you.
And
You as
whatever that
well.
looks like for you, whatever success is for you, because that's different for everybody.
Right.
I don't know if it's money or if it's listings sold or if it's, hey, taking a break and going on vacation for 6 months, whatever that looks like. But I hope whatever is destined for you in 2024 is what you get.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
You're
And I
welcome.
hope the same for you and your family.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, Melissa, it was good to have you on again. And if you're listening or watching, you can definitely check out the podcast on our Facebook page, Developing Lafayette, or the T Podcast. Also, the T Podcast on YouTube. You can watch it there or share it there, whatever you want to do. And also on Apple Podcasts, Google, I think Google Podcasts still exists, Spotify. Go to all those places if you want to listen to the audio version. And I think the video version's up on Spotify as well after this. So, yeah, if you think this is useful podcast for someone that may need to hear it, definitely send it them their way, or hopefully you're a recipient of someone sending this to you. So if so, anyway, thank you for listening, and we'll see you on the next one. All right, Melissa, have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too.
All right.